therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby acquitted of the charge in said article.
I'm Pamela Brown in Washington. Welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. You are in the CNN newsroom. The second impeachment trial of Donald Trump ended this afternoon with the same outcome as the first, acquittal. But that's where the similarities end. 57 senators voted to convict, including 7 Republicans, more than expected, making this the most bipartisan guilty vote in U.S. history. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell voted to, Mitch McConnell voted to acquit, but immediately afterward, he echoed the House impeachment managers when he laid the blame for the insurrection squarely at Trump's feet.
President Trump is practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of the day. No question about it.
Let's get you straight to CNN congressional correspondent Ryan Nobles. Ryan, the trial is over. The Senate has adjourned. History has been made, but there is still plenty of activity in D.C. right now. What is the latest reaction from lawmakers?
Yeah, Pam, I don't think there's any doubt there will be plenty of fallout by this decision from the United States Senate to acquit President Donald Trump, the former president, in this second impeachment trial. But this outcome is what we expected. But there were many twists and turns and surprises before we finally got there.
For a second time, Donald Trump has escaped conviction by the U.S. Senate.
It is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby acquitted of the charge in said article.
The final vote capped off a dramatic and unpredictable day where House impeachment managers initially announced plans to call witnesses in the trial of the former president.
We would like the opportunity to subpoena Congresswoman Herrera regarding her communications with House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
Calling witnesses would have most likely sent the trial in a dramatically different direction, leading to a much longer affair. After hours of negotiations, the two sides agreed to submit into the record a statement from Republican Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler, which detailed a phone call from Trump to House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy on January 6th, where Trump told McCarthy the rioters cared more about election fraud than McCarthy. Impeachment managers decided to call her as a witness following a CNN report on the call Friday.
The point is that no number of witnesses demonstrating that Donald Trump continued to incite the insurrectionists even after the invasion of the Capitol would convince them. They wouldn't be convinced.
With witnesses off the table, the two sides presented their closing arguments. The prosecution arguing that the evidence made it clear the riot was incited by the former president.
He named the date, he named the time, and he brought them here, and now he must pay the price.
And the Trump defense warning the constitutional questions of convicting a former president were impossible to ignore.
This has been perhaps the most unfair and flagrantly unconstitutional proceeding in the history of the United States Senate.
When the votes were cast, 7 Republicans joined Democrats and voted to convict Trump, but fell short of the 2/3 majority necessary. Richard Burr of North Carolina and Bill Cassidy of Louisiana voted to convict. Despite earlier voting, the trial was unconstitutional. After it was all over, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who voted to acquit, hammered Trump's actions, saying he was responsible for the riot and even suggested he could be tried in a criminal court.
Didn't get away with anything yet. We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
But Majority Leader Chuck Schumer argued the Republicans were using the constitutional argument as a cop-out. In his mind, the evidence was more than enough to convict.
Look at what Republicans have chosen to forgive. The former president tried to overturn the results of a legitimate election and provoked an assault on our own government.
And there was a moment on the Senate floor that might have been a prediction as to what was going to happen later in the day. I was in the room and I saw Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana scrawl a note on a piece of paper, walk around and hand it to Senator Richard Burr. Burr then turned around, looked at Cassidy and nodded. Those two men would end up voting to convict the former president, and that is significant, of course, Pam, because both of these men earlier had voted that they believed the process was unconstitutional. Pam?
Yeah, it was certainly a surprising moment for sure. Ryan Nobles, thank you so much. And now let me bring in one of the jurors from the second Trump impeachment trial, Democratic Senator Ed Markey. Senator Markey, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
I was just talking to Ryan there about the surprise of Burr and Cassidy and other Republicans who voted to convict. Were you surprised that 7 voted to convict, making it the most bipartisan conviction vote in history?
No, I give a lot of credit to Senator Burr, Senator Cassidy, all of the 7 Republicans. But I think it's important for us to say it was 7 Republicans. And there are 50 of them. 43 voted not to convict Donald Trump. And that's a statement in itself. And now they're hiding behind the United States Constitution, saying that they couldn't vote to convict because of the Constitution, while Donald Trump is trashing the United States Constitution. So that's a very sad commentary on the Republican Party in general, although I have to praise the 7 that stood up for the Constitution to protect our country.
If the impeachment vote had been a secret ballot, do you think that 17 Republicans would have voted to convict?
Unfortunately, too many people in the Republican Party are more loyal to the Trump base than they are to basic justice. But if the Trump base did not know how senators were voting, yes, I think in a secret ballot there would have been enough Republican support to convict Donald Trump. But the Trump base controls this country, and Donald Trump knows that, and he has created this right-wing, ultimately white nationalist party that is threatening the very stability of an otherwise respectable historical institution, the Republican Party.
So what kind of message then do you think sends to white nationalists and so forth? What do you think the acquittal does today to send that message to them?
I think there are parties going on all over America tonight. White nationalists, racists, neo-Nazis. The Republicans have given Donald Trump a get-out-of-jail-free card for the last 4 years, and today he cashed it in. And he is now free to say things, to do things without any constraints whatsoever. He most likely will be running for re-election and emboldening this base of the party, which he had actually gathered on the ellipse to attack the Capitol. He invited it, he incited it, and he delighted in it. And we know that from the voluminous information which the House impeachment managers presented to the Senate in eye-watering detail. This was something that he planned. And we could see by the timeline that was presented by the House managers that whether it be Senator Tuberville talking to the president, whether it be Congressman McCarthy talking to the president's tweet at 2:24 that afternoon saying that Mike Pence was a danger to the Constitution in our country, even as Mike Pence was hiding, that Nancy Pelosi was in seclusion, that Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer and every member of the House and Senate was being told on the intercom, the Capitol is under attack, a shelter in place, lock all doors, pull down the blinds. He still refused to do anything. And I think that is something that should have been voted upon by the Republicans today in a way that left him as a convicted former president of the United States, and instead they allowed him from his perspective, I'm afraid, to have a get-out-of-jail-free card. And let me just say this.
So do you think, hold on, let me just jump in here. Let me just jump in because you said the Republicans essentially handed Trump and white supremacists and so forth, neo-Nazis, a victory, and that they're celebrating tonight. They're having a party. This outcome, though, was predicted even before Trump was impeached. Do you think the Democrats miscalculated in pursuing this impeachment and should have left it to criminal investigators, left it to that jurisdiction to pursue possible criminal charges against Trump?
No, we had a constitutional responsibility to conduct this trial. And all of that evidence, the tweets, the affidavits, the videos, the timeline of Trump's actions, including after the violence had begun. And we watched, and we now know for certain that Trump then still sat there doing nothing. Okay. All of that had to be out in the public domain. I think we did convict Donald Trump in the court of public opinion. And it's important for all of America to understand.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's important because we need to
why do you say that the court of public opinion, he's been convicted in the court of public opinion? Why? What makes you think that?
Well, I think that it's very clear from this voluminous amounts of documentation which the House impeachment managers presented that Donald Trump did engage in constitutionally criminal activity. And I think that by putting the spotlight on him and on those who he was encouraging, those white nationalists and others on January 6th, at least now we know what we're going to be dealing with over the next 4 years, because he is definitely coming back. And the only thing I can say is that I was encouraged by the Republicans who did stand up. And I think it now mirrors a kind of an indication that there are people inside the Republican Party willing to battle Trumpism in the future.
And it sounds like what I hear you saying, you support DOJ, criminal prosecutors looking into Trump. Is that right?
Yes, right. I think the DOJ, I think the DOJ, I think in Georgia, in New York, in the District of Columbia, we are going to need action to ensure that Donald Trump is made accountable now that he was not convicted today on the floor of the United States Senate.
All right, Senator Ed Markey, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on.
No, glad to be with you. Thank you.